Thank you so much, Mark, for your warm welcome as always, and to Rachel for holding our tech space, and Lisa, your support of IJS and of me personally means so much. So as we know, Elul is this season of introspection. It's an Eight Ratzon. It's an auspicious time, our teachers tell us, for really tending our inner lives and planting these seeds of healing and repair, just as Rabbi Mark said. So I feel especially grateful to have this community of practice. Thank you for having me as your guide today. So let's just begin by taking our seat. Your eyes can be open or closed or anywhere in between. And let's just land and locate ourselves in time and space. A sort of ayeka, where are you moment. So take a couple of rounds of breath. Just coming home again to this body, to this moment in time, to this makom, this place. And allow any extra energy that sort of you may notice has built up in your body, perhaps in your neck or your jaw, your belly, and see if you can use your breath to soften. I like to think about these opening moments as a sort of grace period as we settle in. So allow your arrival to be gentle. You may want to rest your hands on your body in such a way that you can fully embody your arrival, to ground, to open, to tend, to hold. It's an arrival of you to you, of me to we, and of each one of us to the divine. May our practice today allow us to rest and find safety. May it be a place to self-regulate and slow down the motion. May it be a place to fill up with life and release what we no longer need to hold. So let's take one deep breath together. And feel free to open your eyes if you close them. So in this week's Torah portion, Kitetse, Moses, our teacher, he delivers many laws that the Israelites are going to need as they build their society in the land. But I actually want to fast forward to the very end of this week's Torah portion, in which Moshe recalls what Amalek did to our people and commands us to both blot out Amalek's name and never to forget. So many of us are feeling particularly vulnerable still as this war rages on for nearly a year now. 6 of our hostages were murdered and laid to rest only a week ago. And many of us feel less safe wherever we call home. We feel the threat of Amalek in our bodies and in our world. And I'd like to share a bit about what this teaching is reminding me of as I move through Elul. But first, let me give a little background. So Amalek is known as the arch enemy of the Jewish people. Why? Because not only did Amalek attack when we were wandering in the wilderness toward the land of Israel, but it did so by attacking the most vulnerable among us who were in the back. In fact, we read this Torah portion not only at this time of year, and it actually shows up, a version of it in Exodus, but also on the Shabbat before Purim, which we call Shabbat Zachor, Shabbat of Remembrance. So let's briefly take a look at the text itself. Rachel, if you can pull that up, that would be great. We're going to focus in on just one word, but I'd like to read the text aloud. So here's this section from our Parsha. Remember what Amalek did to you on your journey after you left Egypt, how undeterred by fear of God, he surprised you on the march when you were famished and weary, and cut down all the stragglers in your rear. Therefore, when your God, Yud-He-Vav-He, grants you safety from all your enemies around you in the land that your God, Yud-He-Vav-He, is giving you as a hereditary portion, you shall blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven. Do not forget. So for the purposes of our practice today, I want to bring our attention to a profound detail here, which I think speaks wisely to how we work with trauma and indeed all kinds of difficult things, feelings, memories, aspects of tshuva work. And that key word that showed up in that passage is behaniach. So we're to do the difficult work of remembering only when we can rest safely and securely, free from fear of our enemies. You can see a constellation of definitions associated with this word, which is also the Hebrew root for menucha, for rest, here. So to rest, settle down and remain, to repose, to be quiet, to cause to rest, to make quiet, to set down, let lie, to be granted rest, to open space. Great. Rachel, you can take down the text. Perfect. Thank you. So as I said, many of us are struggling to rest safely and securely in this moment. And in our meditation practice, we have this opportunity to touch this place of menucha, to be noach here and now. And we acknowledge that it may be chaotic out there and there still may be enemies to contend with, but right here and now, we can reconnect to that sense of safety and well-being. We can actually feel our way there. So we're going to explore what it feels like to lay down our inner weapons, to release the fight. What does it feel like to simply allow our bodies and our attention to rest here, knowing that we are safe? So let's practice. Let's begin by taking your seat once again, really plugging into this place. As you allow your eyes to close or soften your gaze, just notice yourself in your chair, in your seat, maybe even walking. Notice sounds, sensation. And when you feel ready to create some stillness, feel your body starting to receive the support of the earth. Feel it underneath you and moving through you. Allow it to lend some extra strength to the scaffolding of your spine. And with this structure, your shoulders may sense they can relax. Perhaps your heart feels more open. Your belly more ready to soften. I invite you to begin with a couple of rounds of gentle breathing as you presence yourself here. Resting safely, safe in your body, safe in your space. Safe in the gracious palm of your own inner witness. Safe to settle your nervous system with your own breath and allow yourself to be held. And when your mind wanders away from your intended focus of attention, perhaps usher yourself back with the words, "May I feel safe. May I feel at ease. May I feel safe. May I feel at ease." So we're just going to continue for the next couple of minutes, just breathing into this sense of safety. Each breath an act of rest and repose. And I'll bring us back together with the sound of my voice. Shomer, Shomer Yisrael, Shmor Sherit Yisrael. Shomer, Shomer Yisrael, Shmor Sherit Yisrael. Ve'al Yovad, Ve'al Yovad Yisrael, Ve'al Yovad, Ve'al Yovad Yisrael, Ha'omrim, Ha'omrim, Ha'omrim Shema Yisrael. As we continue to move through the days of Elul, may we feel protected so that we can rest in safety. May our families and communities feel protected so that they can rest in safety. And may we be Shomer Yisrael together, helping to create spaces for each other where we can truly rest and feel safe. May we feel safe so that we can remember what needs remembering and forget what ought to be blotted out, all in service of this inner and collective work. Into our hearts, we place gratitude for this practice, for the privilege of coming together to breathe and heal, to find refuge and rest. May our practice today carry us into the days ahead with a greater sense of safety so that we can do the courageous work of tshuva. I invite you to take a couple of soft and gentle breaths as we conclude our practice with Kaddish and the blowing of the shofar.
Much gratitude to you, Rabbi Jenny. Thank you so much. Friends, this is an opportunity for those of you in mourning, observing yahrzeit, or if it's your custom to join in the Kaddish, to do so. And if you're not, we ask that you please stay present for those who are. If you're joining me, please put the name or names of those you're honoring in the chat now or after you recite Kaddish. And if you're doing so, I invite you to join me by rising in body or in spirit. And you can unmute at this time. Yitkadal, Admara, Shivrike, V'yamlik Malchute, V'chayekom, V'yekom, V'chaye D'chol Beit Yisrael, Agala, V'zman Karev, V'yimru, Amen. Shmei Rabba Mevarach, V'olam Arach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitramam, V'yitpa'eh, Kadar, V'yitpa'eh, V'yitpa'ar, Shnei D'kushav, V'yichud, Ela, Mikol Birchata, V'shirata, Ushbechata, V'nechamata, Da'amiram, Ba'alam, Amen. Shlama Rabba Mishnaya, Im Aleinu, V'al Yisrael, Imru, Amen. Yaseh Shalom B'mramav, Yaseh Shalom, Inu V'al Yisrael, V'al Yotzei Tevel, Imru, Amen. Friends, I will sound the shofar for us as we're doing each morning, each day during the month of Elul. Friends, thanks for joining us today. As always, if you're leaving us now, I invite you to join us tomorrow, Tuesday. We'll be led in practice by Dr. Jonathan Silver, offering a special kavanah on the shofar. John is an expert Baal tekiah, shofar blower, and done a lot of learning about that particular spiritual practice. Looking forward to practicing with him tomorrow, and just looking ahead to the rest of the week. We have a beautiful week of practice. Rabbi Jordan Ben Adapel on Wednesday. Rabbi Sarah Brandes joins us from Israel on Thursday, and Aaron Rotenberg leads us to sit into Shabbat this Friday. So please join us for any or all of the sessions. And of course, you're welcome to stay on for conversation with our teacher today, Rabbi Jenny Solomon, about today's beautiful practice. And want to thank Lisa Firestein again for sponsoring the practice in memory of Morton Brezhnev, Zichrono Livracha, blessed memory. And thanks as well to Rachel Huget for holding our text space together so beautifully. If you have a question for Rabbi Jenny, please put it in the chat. Preface it by writing question all in caps, and we'll keep an eye out for that. Jenny, thank you so much. Done a lot of teaching on this, on Amalek, and honestly, I don't think I ever really framed it as a kind of as a teaching about how to. I'm just going to say manage, but it's not the right word. How to address the reality of trauma and the perpetual feeling, the omnipresent feeling of lack of safety, right? That is the legacy of intergenerational trauma, epigenetic trauma, which so many of us are feeling in a really in a powerful and unprecedented way these days. So thank you for that. Really, really do appreciate that. So I'm going to ask you a question. It's not maybe a hard. I think it's a hard question. If I can put you on the spot, which comes up for me. Maybe it comes up for others as well. About when we are not, about how to cultivate a sense of safety in the midst of a sense of lack of safety. That is, there is that sense of, well, there's the trauma of the past, and I'm not in that place. However, many of us are feeling a real sense of threat, right? So, which is not to say this isn't a very important, valuable practice. So, like, how does that resonate for you? Of feeling like, when I say, may I feel safe, may I feel at ease, there's an inner voice for me that's saying, but I'm not safe, but I'm not at ease, but. I guess that's kind of the nutshell of what I'm raising. How to be with that counter voice that's coming in and saying, no, don't let your guard down, don't turn the alarm off.
Sure. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And I think one of the things are you hearing an echo, Mark?
Oh, yeah. Hold on. That's because
Okay.
there we go. Better?
Okay. Better.
Yeah. Sorry.
I think one of the things that I sort of just felt from this teaching about Amalek, reading the verses afresh this year, is I wonder if it's too much to ask of ourselves when we're really not feeling safe to feel safe. This is actually part of the wonder of our inner workings to know that. And I guess the question is, in the moments when we can feel safe, can we practice that? Can we build those muscles? This is when anxiety is a very useful emotion, and it becomes problematic, of course, when our anxiety is kind of jacked up and there's no actual threat. And so our own inner perception around that quality of threat, that amount of threat, can be off kilter. So I guess what I'm thinking about is, in the moments that we can find some ease and some safety and come into that knowing in our body, our practice can help us do that. And in the moments we can't, I think that's what this teaching from the Torah says so powerfully. Like, we can't deal with Amalek when we're in the midst of a scary situation, when we can't rest. we have to be in a safe place in order to do that
Hmm.
work. And
Hmm.
so to have some grace for ourselves of perhaps being able to train in or better discern when is a moment of where we really do need to be alert and when can we rest in the safety that's actually here.
Yeah, thanks for that. And Laura's asking a question, which I guess is in the same vein about suggestions about how to quote unquote release the fight when it's a challenge and how to reconnect to a sense of safety. But as you were responding, Jenny, was thinking that there were really two parts of the practice. Think about the practice. There was this, you were inviting us to really kind of just be in the moment, be present in our bodies, feel the support in the moment. But the phrase, may I be safe, may I be at ease, is, actually I experience it as a prayer.
Mm,
So for me, and I've been feeling a lot of anxiety for a variety of reasons these days. What is occurring to me is that actually what's called for, what I really need in that moment is prayer. That is, that I cannot have that sense of safety in the moment. And there are those objections, or maybe inaccessible, and may also feel um, like it's beyond because I'm on, I feel under the gun in some way. Um, and so that prayer, as opposed to, I don't know, like interesting to see about how we parse the distinction between meditation and prayer, but that may I be, which is an indication that, well, I'm not. So I may not, I don't feel safe. So may I feel safe. I don't feel at ease. May I feel at ease. It actually does put me at ease. It actually does help me
mm,
feel safer than I could by indicating that I can't do this by myself. Right.
mm. I love that, Mark. And sometimes for me, just as you stated so beautifully, like sometimes I can be brought back into the safety of my experience just by paying attention. It's
Hmm.
already there, and I simply need to sort of reawaken to what's already here. And other
Hmm.
times, it is more of a prayer.
Hmm.
Um, help me, help me, this power beyond myself. Help me experience what is potentially safe in this moment, however that can be felt.
Right. Do want to note and totally agree with also what's I'm sure in everyone's mind and body right now is how many people literally are unsafe, in this moment. Um, we're sitting here, most of us, I assume, in the comfort of much more relatively safe places, and partly doing this, and I think to the sense of being able to connect to and be aware of those who are living under a lot of threat, and how much trauma is spread. Um, there were a couple of good questions here. And a lot of good things in the chat. I just missed. Well, here's one here. So actually, Ron is asking: is the goal to feel safe, or is the goal really to be present in spite of not necessarily being safe? That's a really interesting question. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think if safety is accessible to us, if that feels like the truth of this moment, then the invitation is to feel that. And if we can't, can we be present with that? I think you
Hmm.
phrased it beautifully, Rana.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and to your point, Mark, I mean, it's true. We're acutely aware that there are so many people that don't feel safe for any number of reasons. And I have to remind myself often that I'm not doing anyone any favors by sort of just living in panic, especially when it's unnecessary, when it's not actually my experience here and now. That actually, when I have the gift and the blessing and the privilege of being safe in this moment, the more I can connect to that, the better positioned I am to feel connected, to act from this place as I go out into the rest of the day. So it's a way for me, hopefully, to orient myself so that I'm in a place to respond to help others.
Right. And I guess want to lift up also that for those who are participating in the shofar project, even if you're not, the theme this week actually is listening to the shofar as the sound of the cry of the world, based on that passage in the Talmud that understands the sound of the shofar as the sobbing of the mother of Sisera, who's the enemy of in back in the days of the judges, enemy of the Israelites in the Bible. And it's not the cry of an Israelite mother, but the cry of the general of the army, being attuned to that. So this is very much, I think, in keeping with um, being able to meet our own trauma and sense of vulnerability in a way that enables us to stay present, to be able to be aware, not only aware of that, but aware of the trauma and pain of others, right? And which leads to Lester's question. It's an interesting question. But like, it's there's this very paradoxical aspect of that Amalek passage, right? Because it starts with remember what Amalek did. No, in other words, like don't forget that, right? And then it says, as you point out, bahaniach, when you are settled and have a sense, a monicum of safety, don't forget to blot out the memory of Amalek. And then it says, don't forget. So Lester's asking, how do you reconcile the instructions to blot out memory and never forget, which is a classic
Yeah,
question.
it's a classic. It's a classic. I mean, one way I like to think about that is like this is the work of discernment
Mm-hmm.
to always be sort of figuring out what do we need to remember because it's actually self-protective, and then also what are we holding on to that is then holds us back from actually living into the fullness of this moment. And I think the parallel, if we superimpose that model onto our own tshuva work, and we think about the kinds of repair that we're trying to do with ourselves and the kind of repair that we want to do with other people, there's always this balance of like, how much is it's important that I remember what went wrong here, or it's important that I remember how I talk to myself when I find myself in this difficult situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to remember like I'm good inside and you're good inside, and we can actually start anew in some way. So that's one way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
I know Edie
Go
here
ahead.
just also, yeah, go ahead. What were you going to say,
Oh, no,
Margaret?
you go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to share what Edie Raphael said to me is part of the solution to recognize the distinction of perceived past future threat versus the reality of safety in the present moment. And I think that's
Mm,
very apt too, to be able to sort out that sort of time continuum in the truth of our experience as well. Can we
yes.
hold the truth of what happened? Can we use the truth of what happened in the past as a way of protecting us going forward, even as we ground in hopefully what is true of this moment, which is that we are out of danger?
Yeah. All of this is also making me think of Psalm 27, which is the psalm of this month, which is just a very beautiful psalm and includes the passage that we often sing about, that one thing we're praying for, that we are seeking, which is to sit benoam in pleasantness. It's a variation on bahaniach, to have a sense of safety. And it's not a sense of safety from it's a little bit like it goes into Sukkot. So it's having a sense of safety, not from having living in a a sealed fort, but basically being able, even in the midst of awareness of vulnerability, to be able to rest and have that sense of rest that you're describing. And I think part of our practice is to be able to do that. So what do you think about that? I think, and like you said, it's to be able to do that so that not just so that we aren't tortured, but so that we actually, as people have been saying in the chat, can be responsive to the pain of our own people, can be responsive to the pain of other and trauma of other people's, and even the people we're not even thinking about, right? Who, because there's, we latch on to a couple of people, like there's plenty of pain going on around the world, and um, our task, our work in Elul is to be able to open our hearts to be and ears and senses to be able to take that in when most of the time it's like it's just too much and we want to distract and shut it out. Um, Speaking for myself, but probably for many of us, right? So
Sure.
um, you really we can't do that unless we do as you're offering today, as you're guiding us to have whatever it takes to be able to have that sense of safety and ease that enables us to be with have a heart that's big enough, right? To, as you were saying, to hold it all.
Yeah, it's a beautiful prayer. Can I just rest here in this body? Um, Even if I'm experiencing pain and anguish and a sort of ambient sense of insecurity or threat, even then, and this is where it kind of has that prayerful element that you were mentioning, Mark. Even then, can I rest here with some quality of Noam or Menucha here in this body, exactly as it is?
Well, Jenny, thank you so much as always for helping us connect to that place, the place within us, and also more than that in this community. So we're so grateful to you for all you've contributed, over the years. Feels weird to say that, but it's true. Over the years, it's really
Yes.
amazing um, to this
Was my
community and building
my
it.
privilege, my gift.
And
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you, everyone, for this beautiful community that we create together again and again.
I'm into that. Okay, everyone. Hope to see you tomorrow for practice with John Silver, and be safe and well until then. Thanks so much. Take care.